Hello, Earpers. This, for those who don't know me, is Kevin Batchelder. If you have been on social media today, when I'm recording this, which is April the 9th, 2026, you've seen the exciting news that several cast members and folks from Wynonna Earp were announced today to be guests at Dragon Con later this year. So I wanted to share some basic information about uh, the convention, some of the things around how it works, just to kind of help out folks who might be interested in going. For those who may not know, probably besides my family, my two biggest passions are Wynonna Earp and also Dragon Con. I have been attending Dragon Con, for those who don't know. This will be my 22nd year attending the convention. It is that amazing. That's why I go every year. Now, in years past, specifically 2017 and 2019, we had a large majority of the Earp cast there as well, which was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And I've been very blessed to be able to moderate some of their panels and looking forward to hopefully getting an opportunity to do that again this year. But I wanted to put together hopefully a fairly short video. That's my plan. Fingers crossed. We'll see how long this goes, just to kind of kick things off, since now I'm sure many of you, certainly based on the DMs and text messages I've received today, are very interested in attending and just have a lot of questions about it. In some ways, Dragon Con is very similar to other fan conventions. In some ways, it's very different. So I'm going to try to share some information I think will be helpful right off the bat today. Uh, I can't cover everything in one short video, but that's okay. I will plan to host at least a couple or a few Whiskey and Donuts hangouts in the coming months where myself and some other Earpers will be coming on to kind of share some advice, information, feedback, thoughts, things like that. And we'll open it up to allow folks to ask questions and so forth. So if you're interested and you're feeling a little lost, that's okay. Hopefully, this is going to be a good starting point for you from there. So, DragonCon, what is it for those who might not be aware? DragonCon is a convention that takes place in Atlanta, Georgia, over Labor Day weekend every year. Now, for those who might be from outside the United States that don't know, Labor Day weekend is the first weekend in September. So this year, the convention will be taking place from September 3rd to the 7th. Now, that's a Thursday through a Monday. The convention does run technically 5 days. Things don't normally begin until very late afternoon, early evening on Thursday. None of the events with the guests, shall we say, or the celebrities take place usually on Thursday. Things don't really kick off that way until Friday. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be the big days. Monday is also a great day. Probably runs till middle of the afternoon or a little later there. Sometimes guests have to leave early based on flights, but the Earpcast has usually been involved on Mondays as well, which has been fantastic. Now, DragonCon is the world's largest fan-run convention. You're looking at approximately 75,000 attendees, give or take, this year and most years recently. Now, this convention covers all kinds of topics. That's why a lot of folks love it. It covers science fiction, fantasy, anime, pop culture, science, space, and much, much more. There are actually approximately 35, that's right, 35 different programming tracks covering each of these topics. Cosplay, science fiction literature, costuming, there's a kids track, it goes on and on. There's a list on the DragonCon website. So what it basically means is it's almost like having 35 different conventions all running together at the same time in the same place. So it's an amazing amount of content. Some of you might only be coming to see the Earpcast, which is fine. It's awesome. But just understand that DragonCon, the event, is beloved for that reason. It's about passionate fans celebrating their passion with other fans. Very diverse, very open-minded, a great community, much like the Earper community. That's why I've been going for over 20 years. And a big part of what makes DragonCon so special with those different programming tracks is along with having some celebrity guests for Q&A panels and such, there are also thousands of fan-run panels talking about TV shows, movies, and other topics. So the fans themselves get to be a part of the event. This is what makes it, again, really, really special in my opinion. So it's for the fans, by the fans, is the phrase you'll hear mentioned many, many times. So there's some general information about it. As far as the guests, the Earp guests, as of today, the ones that have been announced so far are Emily, Tim, Kat, Dom, and Varun. Does that mean they're the only ones from the Earp cast who might be coming? Not necessarily. That was just what was announced today. DragonCon is renowned for announcing guests all throughout the year. They've had some big name guests, even like William Shatner was announced just about 3 or 4 days before the con one year. So could we get other guests announced? Definitely. Do I know? No, I don't. If any more will be announced. It's one of those stay tuned to see. That's the dynamic nature of the convention. So there's probably nearly, I'd say, 100 or so celebrity guests by the time all the guests are announced. It's a pretty big, as I said, convention. DragonCon itself, the company, if you will, only has like 2 employees. DragonCon is run by more than 2,800 volunteers, fellow fans who are there to try to make an event that's awesome for other fans. I'm very blessed to be one of the volunteers, to be very involved in the convention. I'm actually the assistant track director for the DragonCon Urban Fantasy track, which covers Wynonna Earp and Buffy and School Spirits and Lost Girl and other TV shows and books in that genre. But there's a lot of other great tracks, as I said there. I will put some great links down in the description and show notes below that you might want to check out. So I'll just touch on a few different things here. But again, the Urban Fantasy track, which is run by Carol Malcolm. Those of you who have come to DragonCon before will know her. She's a good friend of mine. She and I have a lot of fun helping to set some things up and work on things along with a great staff of volunteers too. And we'll hopefully have Carol on for 1 or 2 of the Hangouts later this summer once the schedule starts to come together and we can share some more details. So look forward to that coming up in the near future. As I said, the DragonCon cast was there in 2017 and 2019. Those who were able to attend know it was a great time, and you know how much fun the cast can be. So some basics of the convention, if you're saying, okay, I'm interested, kind of give you the overview. Kev, what do I need to know? DragonCon sells what it calls memberships, what you and I might think of as a badge. Technically, it's called a membership. Those are available from the dragoncon.org website. Right now, the price of a full 5-day membership, I believe, will cost you $165 plus a small service fee. That price does go up a little bit every couple of months leading up to the convention, so it'll probably go up a little bit more if you're waiting to buy one. Do keep in mind that those memberships are non-refundable, non-transferable. You can't bring it forward. So if you purchase it, be sure you're pretty close to 100% sure that you're going to be coming to the convention. DragonCon doesn't do VIP or anything special that way. You can have a badge to the convention. You can get to almost anything that's going on there. The convention will sell a limited amount of single day passes. That usually doesn't happen until around the beginning of August. The single day memberships, if you're someone who can only come for a day, might be in the $60 to $75 range, give or take. I'm just looking at the prices from last year. So that's something maybe consider if you're only coming for a single day. But normally the 5-day membership makes it easy for you that way coming in. The memberships, they do say there is a cap on how many memberships they will sell. The last few years, they have not hit that cap. Doesn't mean they won't this year. So while I don't think you have to run out and buy it today, I would certainly not wait too long to look at that if you are serious about coming to the convention. However, rather than the badge purchase, the biggest thing I've seen in my experience, 20 plus years of DragonCon, that's going to be the most effort for you to put in, is finding a hotel room. Because again, 75,000 people downtown Atlanta. The convention doesn't happen at a convention center. It takes place at 5 official hotels that are all within about a block or 2 of each other. As I said, in downtown Atlanta. Rooms at those hotels normally are gone about a year in advance. So at this point, it'll be unlikely to be able to find a room there. They might still open some up. Not saying it doesn't happen, but they may not be at the convention rate. So the price might be quite expensive, especially since these are very high quality hotels like Hilton's, Marriott's, Hyatt's. However, there are also a ton of other hotels nearby. And again, you're downtown Atlanta, so you've got a lot of coverage there. Check out the dragoncon.org website. They list the official hotels, links to their websites. They also have the other nearby hotels, or just use any of the services like Travelocity and so forth to potentially look at a hotel room. One of the things to keep in mind, being downtown Atlanta, is Atlanta has an excellent public transit system known as MARTA, M-A-R-T-A. So you can look for a hotel maybe close to a MARTA stop, since there is a stop right in the center of the hotels for DragonCon, so you can do that to come in. A lot of folks will stay out near the airport, for example, or somewhere like that to find a room that's less expensive. So something you might want to start looking into there. Um, Personal opinion here, but it's something I see every year. You might want to avoid looking for anything as far as like an Airbnb or Vrbo. There are horror stories every year about people who book from one of those, and the person who has the space didn't realize that DragonCon is so popular, so they cancel people or they double or triple the rate last minute on you. So, your mileage may vary, but just every year I hear a horror story too about someone who couldn't come to the convention or ended up paying triple what they thought they were going to pay because of something around that. So just buyer beware, be very much aware. As far as the events at the con, as I mentioned earlier, the fan discussion panels, which are amazing, the celebrity Q&As, the way DragonCon works it, unlike a lot of other conventions, where, if you have certain guests there, they'll have a Q&A panel at some point during, the convention, the weekend. With DragonCon, they will do a Q&A panel with the cast members every day of the convention when they're there. So that's typically going to be Friday through Monday. So you get several opportunities to go to a Q&A panel with the cast and go to one every day if you want to fit it into your schedule. Totally up to you. But that's wonderful there. And also the way DragonCon is definitely different than a lot of other conventions is that at many other conventions, when you have a Q&A panel, the moderator is the one who'll be asking 80 or 90% of the questions with maybe a small amount of time for fan questions from the audience. DragonCon is totally flipped, again, being fan run. If I'm moderating a panel and any of the other official convention moderators is, we're only going to be covering about 10% of the time as far as questions. We want you to be able to ask the questions. So there will be mics set up in the audience so you can ask the questions of the cast members, which makes it a lot of fun that way. So keep that in mind. Also, unlike the big conventions like a San Diego Comic-Con, where you might have to room sit, for 2, 4, or 8 hours to get a good seat, DragonCon doesn't allow folks to room sit. They clear the rooms after every panel. And they have a policy where you can't line up more than about 75 minutes ahead of a panel. So each day is kind of like a reset. You get a chance to get in. These are nice big rooms, 800, 1,000, 2,000 people. Big video monitors too. So even if you're not in the first couple of rows, you get a great view of what's going on. If you're looking for autographs, selfies with the cast, DragonCon does what they call their Walk of Fame. It's essentially the big room where they have all the celebrity guests. As I mentioned before, with maybe close to 100 guests, it's pretty amazing to walk through there and see lots of people that you will recognize beyond just the Earp cast at a DragonCon. But the guests are normally there, excuse me, in that Walk of Fame room, which is open normally from about 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day, the exception of Monday, it closes a little earlier, and Friday when I think it starts a little later. They'll be there for the majority of the day, unless they're on a Q&A panel or they're taking a break for a meal or some other break. So you've got several hours a day that you can be lining up if you'd like to be able to get an autograph or a selfie. The convention also does professional photo ops with a company that's done a great job for many years. So you'll have all those traditional things to do. Other quick thing for awareness, there are some folks who are like, well, I'd like to come down to the convention, but maybe I don't have as much time, or I'll only be in town for a couple of days. Maybe I'll buy just a ticket for one day and then, pop in and see my friends and so forth. Keep in mind that DragonCon, since it is a private event, come Friday to Sunday especially, if not Thursday late and Monday as well, has security at every door to the hotels. You can't get in to one of these 5 official hotels unless you have a DragonCon badge, 5-day, badge for that specific day, or a room key if you're staying at that hotel. So you can't kind of, shall we say, take advantage of the system and be in there to do things. So just FYI, as far as how that goes. So as far as learning a lot about the con, as I said, if you're familiar with other conventions, you can learn a lot or already know something. Again, DragonCon is taking place at hotels. There are events almost 24 hours a day, folks. There are raves, there are official parties, Rocky Horror Picture Show, the DragonCon Urban Fantasy Track also, if you're a Buffy fan, does a Buffy horror picture show, which is an amazing event too. That's totally separate. We could talk more about that. But the idea is you've got content running almost around the clock. It is that amazing, and there's that much going on. You can program your own con, decide to do as little or as much as you want, but it's not just the hottest new things coming like a San Diego Comic-Con will do for, upcoming movies and projects. This con celebrates anything that might be 5 years old, 10 years old, 30 years old. There'll be different tracks covering the different things. So it is very fan focused that way. Now, if you do want a little more about the convention, there is a Facebook group that I will recommend. It's called Dragon Con Newbies. It's one of the links I'll put in the video down below. About 10, 12 years ago, since I've been going to Dragon Con so long and talking it up on all the podcasts I do, I found a lot of people, just like you folks, would be asking the same questions over and over. So rather than me having to answer them one-on-one, I took 4 or 5 friends and put them in a brand new Facebook group I created so that I could answer questions and everybody could see the answers and learn from other people's questions and also find a way to maybe, um, learn together. So that group grew over the years. That group now has more than 10,000 members. We started doing walking tours of the Dragon Con footprint for Thursday afternoons to try to help folks get a better feel for everything. Since again, 5 hotels, multiple floors, it can be a lot to take in. And the convention, being fan focused and awesome, noticed what we were doing, appreciated it, and actually now puts our walking tours and some open forum Q&A, newbie question and answer, on the official program. So you will see those in your program. But if you do want to get a walking tour, those only take place on Thursday afternoon. So you'll need to be coming in maybe a little bit earlier if you want to take part in those. But the group itself on Facebook is a great place to join, even if you're just going to lurk for the next few months. You'll find lots of information to learn from other experienced con goers. Any question is allowed. We get multiple repeats of the same question, but that is our mantra there in the group, is that every question is welcome. Because we remember what it was like our early years going to Dragon Con. So those of us who've been there for a while want to help others out. So that's something you might want to join if you're on Facebook. As I said, I'll be doing Whiskey and Donuts events more coming out in the summer, give you a chance to ask questions, get some more details. Also, what we did that worked really well back in 2017 and 2019, and especially now, since, as we all know, social media is kind of diluted and diversified. We're not all on just Twitter anymore. You're probably going to have a lot of questions. You might be looking for a roommate. You might be wanting to plan to get together with other Earpers. So what I've done is I've set up an email distribution list, specifically for the convention, questions around it, tips, tricks, those kind of things. So if you would like to get on that email list, in the show notes below in the description, excuse me, I'll have a link to my Linktree site that lists all of my social medias, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook. Just hit me up on one of those spots if you're not already following me on one of those, and let me know you'd like to join the Dragon Con 2026 email list. Doing it that way to kind of hopefully try to prevent some spammers or other folks from joining the list who aren't really interested in what we'll be doing. So yeah, hit me on those. I'll get you on that list. Just be patient. It has been wonderful today as these guests have been announced to have my DMs and text messages blowing up with Earpers asking about the convention. It's so fun to see again. We had such a great time at Dragon Con in years past, or at any of the Earp cons, as you all know. So if this one fits into your schedule, love to see you there. Feel free. Like I said, we'll try to do the events to reach as many people as possible. If you do reach out to me, again, it's difficult to do one-on-one advice or info. Not that I won't be glad to try, but we'll try to do as much as we can this way to get everybody the same kind of information. So hopefully that's enough to kind of get things started. It's possible there will be more Earp guests announced. These are just the first ones announced today. As I said earlier, the con announces guests all throughout the spring and summer. So it doesn't mean we might not have more names mentioned and don't know when. So it's one of those things, as they say, stay tuned and we'll see where it goes. And again, on Facebook, the Dragon Con Urban Fantasy Track webpage is a great one to follow as well, because obviously any news around Earp and some of the other stuff we'll be doing there, that way you can be kept up to date on it as well. So again, that link will be down in the show notes too. All right, appreciate you folks taking the time to watch or listen. And can't wait to see many of you in like 147 days, I think, from today. And feel free drop a comment or something. Let us know if there's other stuff you want to see covered, and we'll certainly run a list and get it together for helping you out as best we can. All right, folks. Hope you all take care.